Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series on AI and teaching. I'm joined here by Adam. Adam, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, this is the first episode of the series of discussions about how artificial intelligence is changing the fabric of the classroom. So, I'm Ross, the founder of Scrambled Eggs English School. And as I said, I'm joined here by my colleague Adam. Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a teacher here at Scrambled Eggs. I've been working in teaching for about 10 years now, in high schools, for private adults, for businesses, for groups, for kids, and it's changed a lot in that time.
Yeah, I mean, you started with scrambled eggs before COVID,
Yeah.
and things have certainly changed.
Yeah, it's unreal. The online lessons used to be a curious peculiarity every now and again, and now it's such a fundamental part of teaching.
And of course, because of that, we've had to change so much about how we teach. And today, in fact, the first lesson of our AI in the Classroom series will be on the personalization of lessons. So, how we modify content and how we modify our slides and really anything that gets taught, how we modify it for the person in front of us or even the company that the person in front of us represents.
Mhm.
So, scrambled eggs at our school, the printed era, the textbooks, anything that is not able to be transformed, that is all dead, right?
Yeah.
So, Adam, tell me, what is your relationship with technology and artificial intelligence in the classroom?
It's become a really important part of how I teach. In fact, I think it's quite rare that a lesson goes by now without AI being involved in some way during the lesson.
So
I
you're addicted essentially.
I am addicted. I can't get
And
off
just out
now.
of curiosity, do you have any stigma? Do you feel guilty about doing this?
I don't. I think when it first started, it was like a kind of a little secret that felt a bit naughty to be using it. But actually, it's just so effective and so much better than alternative options in so many situations that it's just the logical, efficient way to do many things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So give us a little summary, a little recap of some of the ways that AI is influencing your lessons.
hmm Well, for me, I use it often to help me create very interesting discussion questions for my students, which are more relevant to them than the generic ones, which would already be on the slides. I use it to modify material, sometimes before the lesson starts, sometimes even during the lesson. I can use it to adapt the material to the student I have in front of me, any requests they have. And I also use it for post lesson to make interesting material for them, either from scratch or if I have a student with very specific needs, it can really help me find useful material for them much more quickly than I would have done in the past.
Excellent. Yeah. I can imagine, well, I don't need to imagine I was there, but before this rise of AI, you had a student with a very particular request, and you probably had to spend, 1 hour coming up with a full lesson to satisfy their every request. But today it's just a different story, a different ball game. So my first question, you mentioned a lot about personalization and everything that AI can do to change the lesson. So let's start kind of at the end and let me know what are the effects of the outcomes of the lesson when a teacher is personalizing the content.
Yeah, it's absolutely drastic, the difference between giving someone a generic textbook and talking about something completely disconnected from their reality to having a real engaging conversational lesson about something that's relevant to them. You see that if you have material which they connect with and they can relate with, naturally, people are more engaged in the lessons, which is great. But then over the longer term, also, you see a really big difference in their results because the material is so much more memorable when they provide this kind of emotional connection between them and the material that they're reading. It's not just David, some guy I've never heard of. It's in a text. It's something that's relevant to their real life, and so the lessons are much more fruitful and efficient, and the final results are a lot better.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I can imagine an exercise in a textbook, static, can't change, and maybe it's David, your friend David, you mentioned, who is, I don't know, a salesman,
Hmm.
but your student is in advertising.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a little crossover, but with the tools today, there's no excuse not to take the material, convert it, kind of spit it out, and make it just a little more personalized for the student, and more closer to home, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
So just taking a step to the side and talking about Scrambled Eggs as a school,
Hmm.
which we are obviously both teachers at. Since we opened up the school in 2016, we have always been digital. We've always said no to textbooks and printed content. And obviously in 2016, the game was different because while everything was digital, and we had the ability to personalize and customize, the let's say extent of personalization was really just opening up a new blank slide
Hmm.
on our interactive whiteboards and then manually changing the direction of the lesson.
Hmm.
Or maybe if you had the special request, as I mentioned before, you could spend 1 hour coming up with a brand new lesson. Not exactly the easiest thing to do. But
Hmm.
Adam, tell me, how has it changed since 2016, which seems like when dinosaurs were living?
Yeah, absolutely. It's chalk and cheese. I mean, where when I first started, or even only 5 years ago, if I had a student, for example, an accountant, and I wanted to make sure that my lessons were adapted to them, useful for them, with vocabulary and phrases which they can actually use in their real life, it would take a lot of time to find appropriate, interesting material and put it all together.
And it would be
Now,
you taking so much time to make this one targeted lesson that maybe you'll never use again
yeah,
if you don't
exactly.
have the same student. Yeah.
Exactly. Which was it's very heavy for the teacher, but also sometimes how no matter how hard you try, sometimes if a person's a very specific niche need, it would be almost impossible to find great material for that. Instead, now, no matter how particular the job is or how specific the presentation someone needs to prepare for is, very easily, less than a couple of minutes, it's possible to generate interesting, adapted material for them. I'll show you an example. We have a great lesson all about how about TED Talks and presenting your ideas. And it has a slide in it here about people who are down on their luck and how to get back motivated and to get back on track with your achievements. But this text is all about an athlete who's down on his luck. And for some people, I don't know, if you work in, let's say, marketing, maybe if you were presented with this slide, you might think, well, why are we doing this? This has no connection to my life. Now, with less than 30 seconds, I can look at who I've got in my agenda, what type of work they do, and I can take a text like this and ask a chatbot, such as ChatGPT, to reformulate the text using these same keywords, same phrases, but about their specific role. And as I said before, that's just so much more engaging and interesting for the student.
Yeah, so you really just, in a matter of seconds, maybe a minute, you went from, having the slide which is just so dull and is not going to really reach the student,
Mhm.
change it to something that's closer to their passions, interest, or job, and all of a sudden it goes from, a 1 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. And it was
Mhm.
just a matter of seconds, just this minimum preparation for maximum result.
Exactly. It's really fantastic. And so often I'll do that. If I know that there's a particular request before a lesson, I'll adapt the material that I have to make it as interesting as possible for them. But sometimes things can catch you by surprise. We'll often have students who come in and they say, tomorrow I've got a meeting at 9 a.m. about presenting this very specific thing. Can we do a lesson on that?
And
And
so 8 years
obviously,
ago, a request like that was, you started to sweat a little bit in the moment. But you did your best with, let's say, the tricks that you had, your experience. But
Mhm.
even somebody with, let's say, minimal experience can approach this. How would they do it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if someone came to me with a request like this, let's say they had a presentation tomorrow about a specific contract law that I'd never heard of and had no idea about, I'd say, great, fantastic. So could you tell me a bit more about it? Ask them a few questions, and while they're explaining it to me, I can be putting all of the relevant information into a chatbot. Or alternatively, there are many tools which can make slides almost instantly. Um, I'll put all of the information into there, the situation, the context, and ask it to generate me, for example, if it's a presentation about a specific law, a summary of that specific law, key words that will be needed to explain that law, key phrases to use, and also discussion questions. If it's a
Yeah.
presentation specifically, I can ask it even to generate the expected questions they would receive in a question and answer session. So it's really
Just from
simulating
start to
the full
finish.
thing. It's incredible.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole thing. And
yeah.
then what I really like about this aspect is, okay, the request came directly from the client,
Hmm.
but then it's you taking that request and generating some content about it. And what I love about that is, obviously, you're the teacher, you're the expert, you're the professional, and maybe this is the sixth lesson together with this student.
Hmm.
And in the last five lessons, let's imagine you were working towards a goal, first conditional, second conditional, or maybe some specific vocabulary. And obviously they came and they said, I want to go in this direction, even though we've been going in this direction.
Hmm.
Well, as a teacher, as a professional, you can also make sure that when you're putting in all that information in ChatGPT or whatever instrument, you
Hmm.
can also say, by the way, please include examples of the second conditional so that we take this person's request, which was in that direction, and we actually steer it towards there, and we keep going in the direction that the teacher wanted to originally go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's so satisfying for the student too, because then maybe if you have been doing the second conditional in the last two or three lessons, suddenly you have this presentation and you find yourself using the grammar that you've just learned in the real life context of the presentation lesson. So you can really see the progress and the substantial benefits of the work you've previously done.
It's really a game changer. Absolutely. All right. So that was, in terms of personalization, we talked about changing actual material. And there's my
Mm.
thumbs up. Beautiful. Changing material that we already have ready, or in this kind of out of the blue improv request as well.
Mhm.
But what about when we get to after the lesson? Does
Mhm.
AI continue working for you even when the student has left?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In the past, obviously, we'd always want to send homework. At Scrambled Eggs, we always send about an hour of homework for each hour of lesson we do, and we obviously want to make it as tailored as possible to the student that we have. So in the past, that could be, searching for a particular article that relates to both the lesson and the student, trying to find a particular video that's at the correct level for the student, but also interesting and relevant. And obviously, this can take quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, I can ask ChatGPT by putting in all of the information about the lesson and the student to generate exercises and perhaps a writing assignment for me, which is fantastic because then it's particularly built especially for that student. And I can also ask it to find me particular videos, articles, links. For example, recently I had a lesson with a lawyer and the content of the lesson was about fast fashion. And this student really wanted to improve their listening, and they're at quite a high level. So I asked the ChatGPT if it could find me a video for a C1 level student about fast fashion and law, and instantly it found a perfect TED Talk all about the different laws around fast fashion. Following finding it, obviously, I checked it myself just to make sure that it was actually a good video. It was. So then I asked ChatGPT to generate some questions and exercises based on that video, and also to extract some key vocabulary for some vocabulary exercises. So in about, let's say, 10 minutes, I'd got a really personalized, really high quality homework email, which the difference also for a student to receive that compared to receiving a link to some generic past exercises to just fill out is night and day. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's really
That's
worth it.
definitely a good point. You know, maybe if you had to go find all of this yourself, you're probably spending more time.
Hmm.
And maybe what you end up finding is not even of the same quality. So
Hmm.
it's a sacrifice in quality, and it's probably more time taken away from you. And so, you know, these resources are working for us both in the classroom and out of the classroom.
Hmm.
And it's really incredible. Just, you know, obviously, we're never just letting the lessons happen. We're always putting some sort of effort into the personalization, but with these tools, minimal effort, maximum result, definitely.
Absolutely.
So
That's the key thing for me, that it's some people might have this perception that if you're using ChatGPT in some way, it's like a shortcut where you're going to get like a shoddy product. Not at all. If you know what you're doing, if you put the effort in, and you're selective in how you use it, you can actually improve the quality of the service or product that you're offering.
absolutely, yeah, it's all around us. It's a question of how to use it. It's
Mhm.
not a question of whether to use it or not. So yes, thank you so much, Adam, for
Thank you
all
too.
your beautiful feedback, perspective, and all your pro tips. So anybody who's watching, both teachers and students alike, let us know your experience either as a teacher and how it has improved your preparation and flow of lessons and ability to reach objectives, or as as students, of course, as students on how it has created a more engaging, motivating atmosphere, or again, how it has helped you to reach your targets, your linguistic objectives. So let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we can't wait for the second series, second episode of the series, which will be on efficiency, you know, how to make your job a little more efficient, both in teaching, but we're also going to get into work in general, how AI can help us in, you know, the more generic office.
Absolutely. It's so useful.
So thank you so much, Adam. Take care and see you next time.
Thank you all. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody. Take care.